try to get a couple of hours of sleep. That's the goal. That's the goal. But yeah, I'm trying to be productive. So we'll get started here in just a second. All right. There's the notification. I think we're good to go there. I think I'm going to come here. Oh, well, let's, well, I'm just going to go to webcast. I think I'll be able to find everything that I need here in a minute. We're broadcasting with some other churches, and some other probably countries. Oh, wait. Oh, we sound okay? Good to go there. I think I'm going to come here. Oh, well. All right, we sound out. Okay. Oh, I know what I forgot to do. I need to go to YouTube. I doubt anybody's going to be tuning in on YouTube at this point in time. Oh, we do have some notifications. Nobody has said anything bad. Okay, good. All right, nobody has said anything bad about me today. That's good. I mean, today's only been here for a couple of hours, so give it a couple of hours. Someone will be upset with me for something. Trust me. All right, hang on. Here we go. Okay, good. All right, nobody has said anything bad about me. All right, let's go here. Let's turn that off. All right. Now I think we're good. Let's go back to here. All right. Now we'll give it a couple of seconds here and we will get started. I hope this will be positive. I hope this goes well. I really do. I really do. I hope it goes well. All right. I really do hope everything goes here. I am going to do something here. I'm going to go to Theology Central. I'm going to go to Series. All right. Oh, no. Okay, good. A certain helper on an Apple device was about to start talking to me because I said something with an S that sounded like their name, okay? And they were going to say, how can I help you? And I'm like, no, I don't need you to talk. I'm live, okay? And I wasn't asking for your assistance anyway. All right, here we go. All right. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Let's do this. I think we can accomplish this. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we go live in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1.
Looking at our world from a theological perspective. This is the Theology Central Podcast, making theology central.
Good morning, everyone. It is Sunday, October the 5th, 2025. It is currently 3:05 a.m. Central Time, and I'm coming to you live from the Theology Central studio located right here in Abilene, Texas. 3:05, now 3:06 a.m. Central Time. What does that tell you? Well, that tells you I'm obviously not asleep at 3:06 a.m. Okay, great. Very observant. But it also tells you that the SermonAudio Daily does not sleep. The SermonAudio Daily is, well, it's your 24-hour source for what to listen to on the SermonAudio app and the SermonAudio website. That's what... Okay, you don't have any clue what I'm talking about. Okay, well, yesterday I started a new series called SermonAudio Daily. And the goal of this series is to try to help you, well, try to be your guide to everything available on the SermonAudio app. And so we did the introduction, the introductory episode, the introductory issue of the SermonAudio Daily dropped yesterday. And today really is the first real issue, the first real edition of the SermonAudio Daily. And I'm hoping this is going to be beneficial because this is going to be kind of a special edition of the SermonAudio Daily because we're going to be doing something very specific. And we will be doing this frequently as we move on within this series. All right. So I guess the best way to do this is to try to kind of get everyone caught up. And I apologize, I just knocked the microphone halfway across the studio, but I think it's still here. It's still here. All right. In our very first edition, our very first episode of the Sermon Audio Daily series, I explained that with this series, or I explained what this series is all about, and what it's all about is discovery. That's really the key word, discovery. If you just think of that, what is Sermon Audio Daily? It's a series about discovery, and it's to help you discover, well, specific things, because every week, thousands of sermons are uploaded to SermonAudio. In fact, just this last week, I think, 5,000? I don't know, by the end of the day yesterday, it may have gotten up to 6,000. Close to 6,000 sermons were uploaded in a 1-week period to the SermonAudio app and the SermonAudio platform. Now, if you're listening to this for the first time and you're not familiar with the SermonAudio app or the SermonAudio platform, go to sermonaudio.com. You will see the website, or you can go to Google Play Store, the Apple App Store, look for Sermons by SermonAudio. You'll download the SermonAudio app, and then you'll see all the content that I'm talking about. I mean, it's the largest library of, sermons for the most part. I mean, it's there. And so they add thousands upon thousands every single week, and it's all free for you to listen to and to download. So thousands of sermons are uploaded to SermonAudio every week. Some of them are from well-known preachers and ministries you've probably heard of. But many of them, perhaps a lot of them, are from smaller churches, lesser-known pastors. And they kind of just sit there in kind of a forgotten archive, they're in that library shelf that nobody has walked by in 10 years. Those sermons, those theological discussions, those Bible studies are just sitting there. And well, someone needs to find a way to go, hey, everyone, come over here and look at this. Or in a sense, if you go way back in time, some of you may remember this. Attention, Kmart shoppers. It's a blue light special. And they would turn on the little blue light, and then there would be some special of something they were offering a discount on. I think that's how it worked. I was very young during that time. I don't remember a lot of how it worked, but I think they turned on an actual blue light. Kmart, blue light special. I think that's what it was called. Okay. If you're young, you don't even know what I'm talking about, but it was a department store. You couldn't just order it online. You had to actually get in your car and drive. And it was a big department store, and you walked in, and throughout the day, they would do these blue light specials, and they would put something on sale. And then I think they would actually turn on a blue light, and you would go to that area. Well, here, because it's a big department store and there's lots of different things there, adding a special on something can help move that product or clear off that shelf if you feel like things are not moving. Well, in this particular case, we're not selling anything, but we are trying to draw your attention. I'm turning on the blue light spotlight to, certain things, okay? So, and here's what happens. And if someone does not do that, there's a good chance they're just going to get buried. They're going to get buried, especially on SermonAudio. Well, even in a large department store, sometimes things can just, how are you going to find that particular item? So we're going to do these episodes sometimes that we're going to kind of refer to as the hidden broadcast spotlight, or the spotlight on the hidden broadcaster, or the hidden sermon. Because from time to time, I'm going to shine a light on one particular broadcaster is what I'm going to do. Sometimes it will be, a lot of times it's going to be maybe a specific sermon, but a lot of times we're going to call this kind of the spotlight on specific broadcasters, going, hey, here's this broadcaster. I think it's interesting because of whatever the reason. And if I look at some of the sermons, they got 5 downloads, 7 downloads, 10 downloads. Let's turn the spotlight on here. And remember, when I'm pointing to the content, it doesn't mean I agree with it. Doesn't mean I disagree with it. It means it's content that will get you to hear someone preach and teach on the Word of God. Whether we agree or disagree, then it gets us to study and think about it. So I'm getting you just to listen, not because I agree, but because I think there's benefit. In fact, sometimes the greater benefit is listening to what you don't agree with in many cases. So I keep that in mind, all right? So here's what I'm going to do. In this series, I'm going to shine a light on a particular broadcast, a church or ministry, maybe an individual speaker who may not get much attention but has something that I think you should hear, mainly because whether I agree or disagree with it, I think you should at least check it out. So, and what I'll do in some of these spotlight broadcasts is I'm going to pick a few sermons from their overall collection, explain what they cover, and then share why I think maybe they're worth your time and worth our time. Because what I'm going to try to do is whenever in any of these episodes of the SermonAudio Daily, whenever I'm giving you a sermon or a playlist of sermons or whatever, all the different unique things we're going to try to do to help with discovery, it's not just to tell you, I'm going to go listen to the same things as well. Sometimes I may have already listened to them. Sometimes I'm saying, hey guys, let's all go over here and let's all take a listen. All right. So in this particular case, it's going to be more along those lines. So today's spotlight, this early morning spotlight. So for the SermonAudio Daily, for our broadcaster spotlight today, well, I'm going to turn your attention to a broadcaster called Students of the Bible. Students of the Bible. In fact, if I open it up right here, I can look at it. Let's see, do I have it? I may have it here. Yeah, I have it here, right here. Students of the Bible. If you go to SermonAudio.com or the SermonAudio app, type in Students of the Bible, look for broadcaster, and you should see it. They're up above, their artwork is there's like a flower of some sort with an open Bible. Underneath it is a white background, green Bible with a magnifying glass. There we go. A magnifying glass. I'm like, it's not a microscope. It's 3:00 in the morning. Okay. Give me a break. Okay. They got the magnifying glass there, and it says Students of the Bible, Kevin Keeter, Greenville, South Carolina. All right. But Students of the Bible. So it's not a church, right? I don't know if this is, we'll find out more about it in a minute and see if we can get a better idea of what it is. But as soon as I don't even know, I think they had uploaded something and it was listed in newest sermons. But when I saw Students of the Bible, that caught my attention. So I clicked on it and then I'm like, this would be good for a broadcaster spotlight edition of the SermonAudio Daily. All right. So let's get a little bit more information here. All right. Because I think it'll be beneficial. And in fact, I think one of the reasons Students of the Bible, the name caught my attention, but I think it could be one that people may scroll right past without realizing kind of how much content they've uploaded. They're based in Greenville, South Carolina, as I've already stated, led by Kevin Keeter, as I've already stated, who serves at White Horse Heights Baptist Church. He's also known as the Bow Tie Preacher on WTBI Radio. I don't know anything about WTBI Radio. I'm assuming it's some radio station in, Greenville, South Carolina, I'm assuming. He's known as the Bow Tie Preacher. His picture, he's wearing a bow tie, so maybe that's why. I'm assuming so. It appears that they joined SermonAudio in 2025. It looks like they're a new broadcaster, at least from my initial searching out. And it looks like they have a pretty good archive of content. I think it's over 100 sermons. And it's ranging from what appears to be recent messages, but they also seem to have historical recordings, maybe from the 1980s, the 1990s. And I think right there, that can make them very beneficial, right? Because listen, when you listen to newer sermons, you're hearing kind of what Christianity is saying and teaching today. When you go back and listen to sermons from the 1950s, the 1960s, the 1970s, the 1980s, you get a snapshot of what Christianity and what sermons were saying and thinking at that particular time. Now, it's not ancient church history. It's not the 1400s. It's not the 1500s. It's not, 400 AD. But it at least gives you a glimpse of kind of where the church has been and what they've been saying, what is similar, what is different, is the tone different, were their concerns the same? So it's always good whenever I find these broadcasters that kind of have a historical archive and they're uploading older sermons. I mean, that makes them somewhat valuable. So that's why I want to turn the spotlight on them. All right. And here's the thing. Many of the sermons only have a handful of plays. I think I found some with 10 downloads, 11. Now, there was one with like over 300 because I think his name has probably helped it. But that means then this broadcaster and a lot of their content, they're perfect for our pure discovery territory. They're perfect for that. They're perfect to say, hey, ladies and gentlemen, blue light special. We have a spotlight here. Go look at this broadcaster because obviously you're missing it. If they've only got 10 or 11 downloads or streams on some of these sermons, there's a high probability you've never stumbled upon it and you haven't listened to it unless you're one of those 10 or 11. Now, like I said, one of them had 333. I didn't go through all the numbers. I could sit here and go through all the numbers right now of every sermon. Some of them have some decent numbers, some of them don't. But that means there's a lot of content there that nobody is seeing. So if I can turn on the spotlight, I know now I'm kind of stuck with this Kmart illustration, or I'm just going to let the Kmart thing go since that's, something from ancient history. But I'm going to turn the spotlight on and say, hey guys, take a minute. Let's go check this out. All right. So let's begin our hidden broadcast spotlight on students of the Bible. All right. And I'm going to point to you 3 sermons that I think you should check out from this broadcaster. Now, if you're using the SermonAudio app, or even if you're just using the website, the first thing I would do is I would go look up Students of the Bible. All right. And I will put in the show notes, I'll put a link to the broadcaster themselves. And then I'll put a link to all the sermons I'm going to give you to go check out. I picked out 3. But what I would do is find the broadcaster and hit the follow tab. Now, why? Well, then anytime they upload something new, their content will be right there under your feed tab on the app and on the website. It'll be under your feed tab. You can keep it there for, a month. And if you're not liking the content, then you just hit the follow tab again and it will unfollow you. And then their stuff will not show up in their feed. But again, if you don't follow broadcasters so their content will show up in your feed, out of sight, out of mind. That's why, I'm still begging SermonAudio, please make notifications available for the SermonAudio app. And I think there should be lots of different ways to manage the notifications, but they need a notification system. Because if you don't see the content, that's why it gets lost, right? Well, how are you going to find it? Well, if you keep checking the new sermons tab, you're going to see the new sermons and maybe you'll discover one of them. But unless you happen to be looking right when they post, new sermons get buried in about 15 seconds. So follow them. Their new content will be right under your feed tab. And then you can check it out and go, not for me. Or, oh, I love it. Or I hate it. Whatever. But as long as you get some benefit from it, okay? So 3 sermons, all right? So I could say more about the broadcaster. I could read everything about them. You just go find, again, Students of the Bible on SermonAudio. In fact, if you go, can I pull up the full address? I would have to try to print out the whole address right now. But Students of the Bible, you should be able to find it that simple. SermonAudio.com or the SermonAudio app. Type in Students of the Bible, find the broadcaster, and hit follow. All right. Got it? And I'm following them. Okay. So that makes it simple. So I started looking through all of their sermons, just started looking. And again, I noticed a good variety of some pastors I did know, obviously very well known. Some I did not know, some older, some newer. And I'm like, okay, that makes them an interesting, valuable broadcaster to SermonAudio. All right. So I try to get a good variety of their content. The first one I chose is called The History of Fundamentalism. The History of Fundamentalism by Dr. Bob Dalton. I cannot be dogmatic here, but I think the sermon was preached in 1999. I believe it was a part of some, in fact, I could go look at it right now, but I believe it was a part of some kind of a special meeting. Right? In fact, let me go down here. I think I have the link to it right here. I do believe I have it here. I'm opening it up right now. It's from the 1999 Pastors College. It's from the 1999 Pastors College. So it is from 1999. I was accurate there. So this makes it kind of interesting. First, it's the history of fundamentalism. You get a little bit of church history about a specific movement. And it's how people understood fundamentalism in 1999. So you could kind of say this is the 1990s understanding of fundamentalism. Was it different than how people understood fundamentalism in the 1900s and the 1910s and the 1920s? We could have an interesting conversation about that. All right. Now, I think this is one of those sermons that kind of captures a moment in time. It's kind of a self-definition. I think that's a good way of describing it. It's a self-definition of what fundamentalism meant to late 20th century preachers at the end of 1999, going into the millennium, 2000, and all the computers were going to crash and it was going to be the end of the world. Okay, you get the idea. Go find out what everybody was saying in 1999 about fundamentalism, or at least one pastor, one church, one preacher's college, or whatever the setup there was. All right. I could get you a little bit of information about what he had to say, and we could try to take it apart. But I don't want to. I don't want to give too much away. All right. Here's what I would say. Whether you agree or whether you disagree with it, the sermon is fascinating, I think, because it's going to show us how an entire generation understood itself. Not as innovators, but as guardians of historic Christianity is how fundamentalists perceive themselves. We're the guardians of historical Christianity. Now, everyone thinks they're the guardians of historical Christianity. We could get into that discussion. But hey, a little church history on the history of fundamentalism, probably from a fundamentalistic perspective, that's got to be worth some time on your Sunday or Monday or for your commute. So go look for that one. In fact, in the show notes of this episode, I will give you a link to that very message and you can go listen to it for yourself. Number 2, I chose preaching the Bible. Because I thought, man, that could be a good sermon review. Because do we really preach the Bible? Oh, we could get into a good discussion there. And this is by Clarence Sexton. Sexton. Clarence Sexton is very well known in the fundamentalist world. So I'm like, okay, I know the name. This one has over 300 downloads. It's much more popular. But what I wanted to do is try to take one that doesn't have that many downloads and also give you one that has a lot of downloads to just try to demonstrate how my whole concept here. I don't want to just avoid those that have a lot of downloads, but I don't want to just focus on those with a lot of downloads. I don't want to avoid those that doesn't have a lot of downloads, but I don't want to just focus on those. I want to make sure I pull from a little of everything so that you can jump in and hopefully discover some new favorite broadcasters and just help you with discovery overall. But Sermon 2 is Preaching the Bible by Clarence Sexton. And this one, I believe, is also from 1999. I believe it was delivered in 1999 at Crown College's Pastor School, and it's titled Preaching the Bible. All right. And I think there's a famous line in the sermon that goes something like, if you're not a Bible preacher, you're not a preacher at all. Something along those lines. I don't know if he says it that way, but you get the idea. I could be wrong. It may not be in that sermon, but I believe it is. All right. I think he also says in the sermon something like, your goal as a preacher isn't to preach good sermons, but to preach sermons that do good. All right. Some may argue that this message, I think what we should be interested in seeing, does it address problems in preaching in 1999 that are present today? Does it address the same problems? And if in 1999 it's addressing problems in preaching and those same problems persist in 2025, then I need you to write out a thesis of why the problem persists. Okay, well, we could have a good discussion right there. All right, now I'm going to go down to the link here that will be in the show notes. I'm just going to make sure that, is it 1999? It is 1999. Okay, it is. So I've given you two in 1999. I apologize. I probably should have found some more variation in years, but that's two from 1999. All right, two from 1999. 1999 was it a good year? I don't know. What were you doing in 1999? Okay, were you preparing for the end that the millennial bug was going to get? Okay, all right. So the number one is The History of Fundamentalism by Dr. Bob Dalton. 1999. The second one is Preaching the Bible by Clarence Sexton, 1999. And the third one I thought would be interesting, especially with everything going on with Israel and a lot of discussions about Israel. This one is called The Significance of the Rebirth of Israel by Dr. John Phillips. The Significance of the Rebirth of Israel, and this, I believe, is from 1993. So I ended up staying in the 1990s. So two from 1999, one from 1993. Not as much variety in years, but a lot of variety in topics. A church history one, then one about preaching, right? And then one about the significance of the rebirth of Israel. All right. So this takes us in kind of into the realm of prophecy. All right. And I believe this was preached at a Baptist camp in Georgia somewhere. I don't remember the actual name of the camp, but it's somewhere in Georgia. All right. I believe this pastor, Dr. John Phillips, I think he is known for commentaries. And what he attempts to do, I believe, in this sermon is kind of explore the prophetic meaning of Israel's modern rebirth. And so we could, there's a lot we could take apart here, and I could, give you some more information, but you get the basic idea. Again, the link will be in the show notes. So the broadcaster I'm turning the spotlight on is, does anybody remember, class? Does anyone remember? It's called Students of the Bible, all right? Everybody remember that? Students, I don't know why I'm asking like I'm going to hear you, but I mainly because I just want you to say it out loud just to get me to shut up, all right? Students of the Bible is where we're turning our spotlight on. Go find them on the SermonAudio app or the SermonAudio.com website. Students of the Bible. Once you get there, you're going to find it's over 100 sermons. But if you go through them, you should find the three that I'm giving you to listen to. All right. This is showing up on your discovery playlist. Okay. All right. The first one is The History of Fundamentalism, Dr. Bob Dalton. The second one is entitled Preaching the Bible by I think it's Dr. Clarence Sexton. And then number three, The Significance of the Rebirth of Israel, Dr. John Phillips. 3 sermons, 3 very different angles, and one broadcaster that most people probably haven't discovered. I doubt many of you listen. I doubt any of you are even following this broadcaster. That's going to be my assumption, that most of the people who hear this episode of the Theology Central podcast, this edition of the SermonAudio Daily, I doubt none of you are following this broadcaster. So if you go follow it, 1, they get a new follower. 2, listen to some things. They get some actual downloads and streams. Check out these 3 messages. Or at least pick one. Pick the one that you think is most interesting. The History of Fundamentalism, Preaching the Bible, or The Significance of the Rebirth of Israel. That gives you 3 pretty interesting things there. At least I think it does. All right. So, yeah. You could think of it this way. The first sermon is going to show you how an older generation defined fundamentalism. Clarence Sexton is going to remind us what it means to preach the Bible, and Dr. John Phillips takes us to prophecy and the rebirth of Israel. I think, in a sense, these 3 messages kind of represent what SermonAudio does best, right? Preserving voices, preserving ideas, preserving perspectives that span generations. Maybe you'll agree, maybe you will not. But all of them hopefully will make you think, hopefully they will make you study, and hopefully they'll lead you to searching the scriptures for yourself. And that is the goal of the Sermon Audio Daily, to help you find what you might otherwise never hear, never see, and never stumble upon. You can find all 3 sermons linked in the show notes. I encourage you to take time to listen, to reflect, and maybe even explore a few of the other messages from students of the Bible. And I hope you will, and I hope it will be beneficial. Thank you for listening. That's our broadcast spotlight. Students of the Bible. You can find them on SermonAudio, and we'll check out these messages. Hopefully you'll find them to be beneficial. And, we'll be back on, hopefully. Now, it is called, I will say this, SermonAudio Daily. I know that kind of, I went back and forth. Do I call it the SermonAudio Daily? Do I do that? Because that kind of implies that every single day I'm going to turn on the microphone and do something. I can't guarantee that I will every single day, because there's just going to be things coming up. There'll be things coming up in October that I probably won't be able to broadcast for a couple of days. There'll be some things happening in November that I probably won't be able to broadcast for a couple of days. So there'll be things that happen, but in some of those cases, I'll try to throw in a couple of extra episodes here or there to make up for it. But the key is this is already gone 28 minutes, so I'm going to make them a little shorter. I'm gonna figure out how to make them a little shorter. So that's what I'll do. And if I can get them down to about 20 minutes, some of them I can do in probably 15. Some I could probably even do in 10 if I'm just giving you just one or two quick things. But this one I wanted to focus on the entire broadcaster and then the 3 sermons. So there you go. And I wanted to be a little bit repetitive there, making sure you know the stuff is going to be in the show notes, trying to be repetitive of some of that stuff, saying the name of the broadcaster multiple times, just to try to get everyone on board that, hey, this is not about you just listening. This is about you going to look these things up and participating. All right. All right. Thank you for listening. It's now 3:34 a.m. Central Time, and SermonAudio Daily. Well, I'm going to try to get some sleep. Everyone, I was going to say have a good day. Well, whenever you wake up and hear this, have a good Sunday. Or if you hear this on Monday, just have a good day. And hey, go listen to some things and hopefully benefit from it. God bless.